Good morning, all of you. On behalf of Meera Aziz Education Society and on my own behalf, I am Dr. Sheikh Suleiman, General Manager, Excel India Limited, under the Minister of HRD. Today, we are organizing a webinar on strengthening of teacher-student bond in the 21st century. I am very happy that very eminent scholars and personalities we are having today as a panelist. Now, I request Professor Prasanna Kumar garu to speak on or to initiate this webinar. Before he initiates, I would like to have a few words about his credentials. Professor Prasanna Kumar garu, who was my guru and teacher and mentor, is the founder director of Center for Policy Studies, Visakhapatnam, which completes 25 years of Gandhi Jayanti, October 2, 2020. Prasanna Kumar sir is a retired professor of political science and public administration, and also former rector of Andhra University, who was the head of Center for Policy Studies, brings out a bi-monthly bulletin in 143 issue of which was released in June 2 this year. To his credentials, there are so many articles and books, and he also wrote some of the books on P.V. Narasimha Rao. In addition to his academic credentials, he has 40 years of experience in giving commentary for different sports like shuttle, badminton, cricket, especially cricket. And on this occasion, on Teachers' Day's occasion, we are happy that we are organizing this webinar on the India's first Vice President of India's Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan's birth celebrations. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan is a symbol of academics and education. Radhakrishnan was a renowned philosopher, statesman, as well as a teacher. In fact, in this occasion, I would like to share one important information with you. Professor Prasanna Kumar sir had the privilege of meeting Dr. Radhakrishnan and receiving his blessings when he visited their house in Mausulipatnam. Mausulipatnam is Machilipatnam, otherwise known as Bandar in Andhra Pradesh. Sir, with these few remarks, now I request Professor Prasanna Kumar sir to give his valuable views on the teacher-student bond in the 21st century. Sir, thank you very much. Now you can initiate, sir.
Dr. Suleiman, Dr. Balakrishnan, Dr. Suresh, and esteemed participants in this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Suleiman, for for giving me this opportunity to participate in this webinar with such distinguished persons as a prolific writer and scholar of repute, Uday Balakrishnan, and a reputed expert on mass communications, Professor Suresh. And Dr. Suleiman, I must begin by first of all thanking you and paying homage to Dr. Radhakrishnan, whom I had the privilege of meeting on a few occasions and receiving his blessings. More importantly, Dr. Radhakrishnan was the Vice Chancellor of Andhra University from 1931 to 34, first term. He was re-elected for the second term, but after serving the university for a year and a half, he left for Benares, probably for Oxford in 1936. He transformed the Andhra University, of which Dr. Uday Balakrishnan, Dr. Suleiman, and myself were students, and we are always proud of our alma mater, the Andhra University. Dr. Radhakrishnan, as a teacher, became an outstanding educational administrator. He came to the university in 1931, succeeding Dr. C.R. Reddy, the foundation vice chancellor. And Dr. Radhakrishnan, in 3 years, transformed a little-known Andhra University in Visakhapatnam, then known as Fisherman's Village, into a university of national repute, in which great men worked. Like, for instance, Sir Mokshakundam Visvesvaraya was brought as Professor of Technology. Dr. C.V. Raman was Honorary Professor of Physics. I'm always fond of narrating that famous episode when Dr. Radhakrishnan invited Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore to deliver a lecture. Tagore spoke on man in 1933. Andhra University had the privilege of hosting that meeting. The first Nobel laureate was this main speaker. The second Nobel laureate, Dr. Raman, was in audience. And a person as distinguished as these two Nobel laureates, Dr. Radhakrishnan, was in the presidential chair. It was one of the greatest moments in the history of Andhra University, Dr. Suleiman, in which you and Dr. Balakrishnan studied. And you also made significant contribution to the development of the university, you are still making in your own way. Now, Dr. Radhakrishnan, as Vice Chancellor, was both a teacher and an administrator. The way he transformed Andhra University is amazing. Dr. C.V. Raman famously said, we worked under Dr. Radhakrishnan. It was like Arabian Nights story. Radhakrishnan waved his hand and a university with buildings, excellent staff had sprung up. That was a remarkable achievement of Dr. Radhakrishnan. Every important man in India, every important scholar was invited, and many of them joined the faculty. I must tell you, the Andhra University faculty was embellished by the presence of not only Dr. Visvesvaraya and Dr. Raman, but by many who came from, like Dr. V.K.R. Virao, economics, and Dr. Chala for mathematics, and Professor Wood for chemistry. And these were willing participants in the university's development, thanks to the dynamism and the popularity of Dr. Radhakrishnan. Therefore, I just make a reference to Dr. Radhakrishnan. A teacher is not just a teacher of lessons, but he can become a source of inspiration to the larger society. I'll give one example for that matter. Radhakrishnan's lectures in the university as professor of philosophy were so popular that people from far and near used to come and attend his classes, it seems. Of course, then I was not born. None of us were born at the time. But the university was a center of attraction in the world of learning. Two special points I would like to mention: the way Radhakrishnan conducted himself later as a diplomat, as an ambassador, and as a statesman. Two instances I'll mention here on this occasion. Such a great personality whose birthday we're celebrating here. Radhakrishnan went to the United States in 1962 as the President of India. John Kennedy made elaborate arrangements to give a warm welcome to India's scholar, statesman, president. Suddenly, at the airport, it started raining. And there was disappointment. Umbrellas had to be raised. And Kennedy, in all humility, said to Dr. Radhakrishnan, "We welcome you, sir." But then rain played the spoil sport. Smilingly, Dr. Radhakrishnan said, "Mr. President, we cannot change the course of events, but we can change our attitude towards them." And Kennedy was fascinated by this quotation. He asked his secretary to make a note of it. Similarly, it is well known that when Radhakrishnan visited China and met Mao Zedong, he patted Mao on his cheek. It was not apocryphal, it was true. And eyebrows were raised, and Mao was a little confused at the time. Radhakrishnan put him at ease by saying, "Don't worry, I have done this to Stalin and the Pope." That was his sense of humor on the occasion. "I have done it to Stalin and the Pope." The way he conducted himself, the way he ran the administration as the President of India during that critical period, 1962 to 67, after the Chinese aggression, was an outstanding example of a scholar rising to the occasion. What I wish to say is, a teacher is not just a source of inspiration to students alone. He is a source of strength to the larger society and to the world, if not. And therefore, Dr. Radhakrishnan left a huge footprint on the global map when he vacated the presidency in 1967. And such an outstanding person we are talking about, and we cannot adequately pay homage to the memory of one of the transformative personalities of the 20th century. After paying homage to Dr. Radhakrishnan, I would like to briefly allude to the topic that you have given me. In my opinion, the teacher-student relationship is a very interesting relationship. I say sometimes lightheartedly, without hurting the teaching community, my colleagues, there may be bad teachers, but there can never be bad students. But then this, of course, has been proved by history. That's a different story altogether. But then when you interact with students, one way to help the student is not only in guiding him in his learning process, in his research work, in his education, but more importantly, in the development of his personality. This development of personality in young minds at the college or at the university or in the school for that matter is a very important aspect of human life. This development of personality, which takes place between, say, 14, and Tagore wrote about the 14-year-old boy, etc., when he transforms and he grows into an adulthood or adolescence. Between 14 and 22, when the important phase of life of a student is influenced by the teacher, that I think is of enormous significance, not only for the two persons engaged in the process of learning and teaching, but in building institutions. That way you can build a great institution. Radhakrishnan was a classic example of how a good teacher can become a good administrator. And therefore, on this occasion, while talking about teacher-student relationship, I want to refer to 2 or 3 important aspects. A teacher, in my opinion, must not only be very sincere and forthright. Radhakrishnan used to say, unless one has passion for teaching, unless one does the homework thoroughly, one should not go to the classroom and give his lecture. Now, that's a different thing altogether. But the teacher-student relationship is not confined to the classroom alone, is not confined to the university or college alone. It is a much wider relationship between the teacher and the student. In all humility, I say, that a number of good students often come and tell us a few good things that they have picked up from us. I'm reminded of the famous caution given by Sir Isaiah Berlin to teachers, especially those who teach in the universities. Sir Isaiah Berlin said, teachers must always bear in mind three things. One is they must remain humble, keep learning till the last breath. Second is they must not indulge in adjectival excesses. Hype should be avoided by teachers. Exaggeration must be avoided by teachers. Aristotelian virtue of moderation must be practiced, as Berlin said. The third and perhaps very important thing, Dr. Suleiman, whenever you say a good word about me, I'm reminded of it always. The third important thing that a teacher must bear in mind, a professor must bear in mind is that don't be under the illusion that you have impacted generations of students. Forget about it. Not many could have been influenced by you. If a few of them have benefited from what you have taught, how you have taught, this is enough. Those few, the torchbearers of wisdom and learning, you should be satisfied with that. That is why when you talk about these things, I am reminded of Professor Dahl's famous key points. Why you must talk about political analysis, why you must talk about politics, why you must learn about what is happening in the world. He said three things. I shall sign off after mentioning these three things. He said, three things must be borne in mind by a teacher who teaches social sciences or political analysis in particular. One is to make the student know something about what is happening around. The second thing is enable him to make more intelligent choices. All politics, all life is choice making. The third thing, the most important of the three, is to try to bring about change, big or small, at any level, in an individual, in a group of persons, in an institution, in a village, or in a small town. Therefore, this is a challenge before a good teacher. This is a challenge before a good student. And the teacher-student combination is of enormous significance to India in this 21st century when we talk about demographic dividend. Thank you very much. I will get back to you, Dr. Suleiman, in case I'm asked a few questions later on. Thank you very much. I must mention once again that I feel indeed privileged to share this platform with such a distinguished scholar, writer like Dr. Uday Balakrishnan, and such a distinguished educational administrator like Dr. Suresh, and with an earnest person, always very enthusiastic, like Dr. Suleiman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And we'll come back to you again. Now, I request Uday Balakrishnan, sir. Sir, before you speak, just I want to, 1 minute, sir. I want to give some credentials about you.
Sure.
Very brief. I'm not going through all the details, sir. Uday Balakrishnan, sir, and he was in government service and former senior member of Postal Service. Dr. Uday Balakrishnan has a master's in politics and international relations from Andhra University, has a PG diploma in advanced studies in training and development from the Institute of Development Policy Management, University of Manchester, and PhD in political science from Karnataka University. He voluntarily retired from Government of India in August 2010 as a member of Postal Service Board and Chairman Investment Board of the USD 3.2 billion Postal Life Insurance Fund to take up a year-long visiting fellowship at the Central European University, Budapest. Dr. Uday Balakrishnan, sir, was twice a visiting fellow at Central European University, Budapest, Hungary in 2007 and later for a year in 2010 and 11. Dr. Balakrishnan, sir, was an invited member of the organizing committee of the Global Conference on Gandhi in a Globalized World, Contemporary Relevance of Gandhian Thought, held at the Central European University, Budapest. And he was also scripted a well-received 4-part television documentary on the culture and a history of India's West Coast, and has given talks and lectured at the Indian Institute of Science, Center for Contemporary Studies, the Jawaharlal Nehru University, the National Labour Institute, the National Institute of Rural Development, National Institute of Advanced Study, Bangalore, the Central European University, Budapest. Some positions held by Shri Uday Balakrishnan, sir. He is a 1975 batch of Indian Postal Service. He holds positions like Principal Postal Training Centers, Mysore, Director in charge of Child and Women Labour and also Unorganized Labour, Ministry of Labour, Government of India, Chief Vigilance Officer, Minister of Labour, Government of India, Postmaster General, Visakhapatnam Region, Registrar, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, Chief Postmaster General, Kerala, Member Postal Service Board and Chairman Postal Insurance Fund. Sir, now we request you to give your valuable opinion and views on this today's webinar. Balakrishnan, sir, you can go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sheikh, for inviting me to this. It's quite an honor to be in such august company. And that too, sharing the stage with my guru, who is also your guru, Dr. Prasanna Kumar. And Dr. Suresh, I've heard about him. Now I know who he is. And it's fantastic to be with you, with him, and with Dr. Prasanna Kumar, who has been my mentor, my teacher, my inspiration for so many things. Now, he has been very generous in calling me a scholar writer. I'm just a dabbler in compared to him and compared to most of us. But coming back to this, today we are actually observing Radhakrishnan's birthday. And it is Teachers' Day, and it's an important day for us to take stock of what has happened in India and how we can go forward in this, in making India a good knowledge economy. And teachers are at the back of it. You know, if you don't have teachers, you don't have a knowledge economy. Now, a little bit about what I'm going to speak about. I'll quickly outline it. One point I'd like to emphasize is the teacher as a facilitator for learning rather than an input for learning. There's a huge difference between the two. Now, if the teacher only is going to tell the class what he knows, then he's a poor teacher. He has to inspire the students to go about and look at things beyond what he knows. He has to open out the world to them and say, look, I'll discover it with you. In fact, since I come from a family of teachers, my grandfather was a well-known teacher and he was a good writer also. He said the role of the teacher is to allow the students to discover for themselves by opening out the possibilities for them to discover. Now, when we look at this approach, it is very different from a pedagogical approach where a teacher comes into the classroom and speaks and goes away, gives notes and say, okay, you write this for the exam purpose. Now, what really happened to me, let me give you a bit of a background about myself. I studied with private tutors at home. I've gone to American schools, I've gone to British schools, I've gone to Indian schools, best and worst in all these. And one big thing that I have taken away from them is that when there is a good teacher, there is always good learning. When there's a bad teacher, there is absolutely no learning. Now, what's a bad teacher? A bad teacher is unfortunately one who is very rule-bound, who says, this is the syllabus, this is what you've got to do, this is what you've got to learn. If somebody asks a curious question or something different from that, he'll immediately put him down. I hope that really kills creativity, and that also finishes off a student's interest in anything, in a particular subject or in a particular area of interest, which is there for him. Our teacher training, I have had some experience with teacher training institutes, and I think in our country, I think Dr. Suleiman, this is something which you can take back to MHRD, is strengthening the role of our district teacher training institutes. If you are doing something in that direction, but that is where, I mean, our government school teachers and the type of curriculum they are imparted, inspiration they are given there is highly uninspiring. And I thought this is an important thing for us to take back when we go through this webinar and all of us are listening into this. We've got to build curiosity into our learning. We've got to build an interest. And the best teacher is one who says, if you ask him, he doesn't know, he doesn't say no, but says, let's discover it together. I don't know. The most important attribute of a teacher, according to me, is that wonderful phrase, I don't know, let us discover it together. If you don't know. If you know, of course, you're expected to know as a teacher, we are expected to know as a teacher. Now, a good teacher is someone who allows the student to outgrow him. It is something which I have discovered in the last 7 years when I've been teaching in the Indian Institute of Science. And it's an interesting thing. I never have taught students before, but when I was in the Indian Institute of Science as a visiting fellow, they told me you design a program and impart it to undergraduate science students on governance, public policy, and contemporary history. So I said, how do I interest them? What is it? I mean, do I know everything about what they're asking me to teach? I said, no. So the Indian Institute of Science is a very fortunate place, but I think this is something which can be replicated in many places. We brought in the best from anywhere in the country because the Indian Institute of Science could afford them. In fact, there were politicians, there were scholars like Jairam Ramesh, Vinay Lal of University of California, Los Angeles. They all came to speak in the classes and participate in the classroom, which I was teaching. Actually, I will teach and they will participate. Now, this is possible to replicate this at every level in schools and institutions because you have practical resources in and around you. Say a panchayat president, say a district collector. These are people you should call into, I feel we should call into our classrooms to explain what civics is, what history is, what the geographical situation is, the economy is, by practical practitioners also. So they lend an air of actuality and reality to what is being learned. There's no point in learning about the cooperative movement without actually, for example, going into a cooperative and getting the cooperative, getting somebody articulate from the cooperative movement or from the cooperative department to come and explain what his work is about. So there is an immense amount of cross-learning we can bring by accessing resources from the best sources, because teachers by themselves are not know-alls. And if they pretend to be know-alls, I think they are not at all know-alls. Now, the second point I just thought I'll emphasize on Dr. Radhakrishnan's birthday is the fact that we have got to teach students a lot of good values about civilization, about their own history, about their own culture, starting with local culture. Karnataka had a very good concept of introducing local history. That is the history around the schools, around in the district, in the region, to students also. I hope that this sort of a learning to understand our immediate world will enable us to understand our larger world. My last point, I don't want to take too much time on this, I'll just take a few more minutes, is the big lesson I learned in teaching. It is the most rewarding profession in the world. If you have given your heart out to the students you're teaching, they return it in abundance over years and years to come. I am really surprised at the kind of support and affection. Today I got so many messages from, I taught over 1,000 students, all of you have taught many more than that. I've received on Teachers' Day greetings from so many of my students. I'm not even a teacher, I'm a former friend. So when we are inspired to teach, I think we should also be inspired to impart a learning beyond what we know, and introducing them to things that we know we don't know, but can be known by accessing certain resources. And today with the internet, with the facilities around us, this type of learning is extraordinarily possible. It is an immense opportunity for us to learn. Now, why am I here in which Professor Prasanna Kumar is? I just want to leave you with this thought. Why am I here with Professor Prasanna Kumar in the in this group participating in this session? Now, after so many years, I left Andhra in 1974. Until today, we have maintained a very cordial and affectionate relationship. But most important, I continue to learn from him. Because look at a person, he has retired from teaching, and he has set up a Center for Policy Studies into which he has brought the best. Now, these are R.B.R. Chandrasekhar Rao is not here. It's another great teacher whom I encountered. Andhra University in the 70s and in the 60s and 70s was one of the best universities, not in India alone, but in the world. And it was a privilege for me to have been there. And there's a lot to learn from it. My last point, and this is absolutely my last point, is that I request teachers to go on updating their knowledge, not to stay static. Because the world is changing, and unless a teacher changes, we have to, we will get a very poor teacher in the long term. Thank you very much, and I'm really grateful to be participating in this. Dr. Sheikh, I'm done.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we'll get back to you again right now. Now I request Professor K.J. Suresh, sir. Sir, before you speak, just we want to have a some few words about you. Just a minute, sir. Just I'm sharing the screen. Yeah. Professor K.J. Suresh, sir, is a senior journalist and communication specialist. He is currently serving as
I think you
pardon?
Put Suresh's.
Yeah. I think you are audible now, sir?
Yeah, now it's come. Yeah, fine.
Okay. Professor K.J. Suresh, sir, is a senior journalist and communication specialist. He is currently serving as a founder, dean, School of Modern India, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, UPES, Dehradun. Earlier, he has served as Director General, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, India's premier media training institution, Senior Consulting Editor with Doordarshan News, India's public news broadcaster, Editor Consultant with the AsiaNet News Network, Chief Political Correspondent with Press Trust of India, and Group Media Advisor to Dalmia Bharat Enterprises Limited. He has recently been named as the prestigious Ganesh Sanskar Vichardi Award for outstanding contribution to journalism by the Kendriya Hindi Samsthan, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. The award carries a cash prize of 5 lakhs. Citation and shawl would be presented by the Honorable President of India. As a DG, IIMSC, Professor Suresh gave a major push to Indian languages, language journalism at the prestigious institute. And his other major initiatives include establishment of the Community Radio Empowerment and Resource Center at the IIMC with a view to promote community radio stations in India and the National Media Faculty Development Center for training and skill upgradation of media educators across India. As a senior consulting editor with Doordarshan News, Professor Suresh played a pivotal role in introducing innovative programs including Speed News, Varta Valli, the world's first Sanskrit television news magazine, Good News India, positive news from across the country, India First, a strategy and defense-based program, and Do Talk, a political debating platform beside DD's first Android-enabled app. He has so many credentials. Just I am mentioning a few. A TEDx speaker, Professor Suresh was a member of the prestigious feature film jury and non-fiction jury of Indian Panorama 2018 and 17 respectively for the International Film Festival of India. And he has widely traveled across India and also world, including Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, South Korea, Japan, UK, Switzerland, Australia, Hungary, Qatar, Mauritius, South Africa, among others. Sir, we are happy to have as a panelist today. Now, I request you to give your valuable views on this today's topic. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sulaiman Saab. Am I audible?
Yeah, audible, sir. Go ahead.
Yes.
Well, It's indeed an honor to be part of this very, very distinguished panel. We have Professor A. Prasanna Kumar, Uday Balakrishnan ji, and I don't think that much is left to be spoken after, what they have said, because I think that all teachers, all good teachers think alike. I think that, and I'm really, I must compliment you, Sheikh Saab, for organizing this on a very, very relevant day. That's Happy Teachers. Today we are all celebrating Teachers Day. And like all of you, I am also flooded with messages since morning. In fact, some of the messages are so touching. I mean, I have one from a JNU scholar who was my student. He has written, as a guru, you always enlightened us with thought-provoking challenges in classroom and beyond. If I ever return to teaching line, I shall always try to emulate your style of teaching by throwing challenges than mere lecturing. I think that for a teacher, it is far greater a recognition than any Padma Shri or Padma Bhushan or even Bharat Ratna. I think that for a teacher, there cannot be this love and affection from the student is our only, what we have invested, this is our only return, You get maximum satisfaction from this, then all the monetary and, your official positions that you have had in a long life. Now, I want to say that today's discussion has also become relevant in the backdrop of the national education policy, which focuses a lot on the teacher training of trainers or teacher education, to which Shri Balakrishnan referred to. I think that this is very critical because today's topic is about strengthening student-teacher relationship. Yes, we had a glorious tradition of Guru Shishya Parampara, and we have seen where you have teachers like Dronacharya and students like Eklavya also. We have seen all that, and we come from we have a history wherein we had universities of global standards like Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikramashila. All these universities were there, and today, while one may have, in terms of global rankings, we may not be among the top 100 except one or two institutions. But I believe that the fact that our students are performing exceedingly well across the world, including Silicon Valley and you name it, they are in every major hospitals across the world. The best doctors, the best scientists come from India. I think that is a tribute to the fact that our teachers really worked on them, and in spite of all the limitations of infrastructure, of research, we were able to motivate our students. If today some of the top global conglomerates are being headed by Indians or people of Indian origin, I believe that the teachers played a very important role in that. But having said that, there are also issues today with increasing privatization and commercialization. The teacher's role has come into question. With the teachers focusing more on private tuitions, a lot of teachers giving precedence to students who give, who take their private tuitions, teachers who apart from their own classroom teaching, go for private teaching, and commercial institutions, private colleges, private universities, they are the need of the hour. Today, our population is so huge that government institutions alone cannot, take the burden. But the fact is that when in private institutions, when teachers are being treated like, I should not be using the word, but tissue paper, they are being used and thrown. And there is hardly any job security, and they are constantly being motivated only to get more students, to raise more funds, to raise more revenue, the entire focus, the respectability of the teacher. So when you hear about incidents in many universities about students assaulting teachers and all that, it is so painful. We need to look at the causes for that. We need to look at the reasons for that. And that also somewhere, I know I'm raising unpleasant things on a pleasant day, but these are facts we must face. The polarization which has taken place, whether it be media or education, is also very painful. Teacher, I believe, has every right as an intellectual to have a political or an ideological line of thinking, but he cannot be imposing that in his classroom. I think that he should leave it to the students. The idea should be to have critical thinking. Thus, the teacher should be able to provoke critical thinking among the students so that they are able to analyze a particular situation rather than becoming ideologues or indulging or engaging in brainwashing. I believe that that's not the job of a teacher. In that process, there is a polarization which takes in our educational institutions. And we have seen over the years what has happened in very prestigious institutions like Jawaharlal Nehru University, Hyderabad University, Osmania University, Jadavpur University, name it, SRFTII, FTII. These are all institutions where so much of polarization has taken place. When teachers also become part of the student politics, it is really painful. Teachers getting divided on purely, they have a right to have, as I said, but then they should have, the whole idea should be to generate debate. We had, right from the days of Adi Shankara, we had a tradition of Shastrartha in this country. We had people who will deliberate extensively and defeat even each other. But that has been our long tradition. And I think that we should be, promoting that kind of, only that will enhance your credibility as a teacher. I also have, why should like any other intellectual thinking person, I also have my own views on many contemporary issues and aspects. But I never, have taken it upon myself to be an ideologue who will take it into my classroom and try to recruit cadres. That's not my job. Teacher's job is to teach, to inform, to educate, and to inspire. And when he does that, when he or she does that, then they inspire confidence. That students, irrespective of their leanings, irrespective of their thought process, respect you, regard you, for your acumen, for your knowledge, for your wisdom. That should be their thinking. That should be much beyond, your entire political and other loyalties. I also believe that it is very important that today we are in an era where we are having online education. We are looking at blended education. In that, is it possible to establish that kind of a personal rapport with the students? I hope that this is a transient phase, that we shall overcome the COVID-19 soon. But blended teaching is going to be the reality. So you are going to have alongside even face-to-face. This is going to be a reality for a long time, that we are going to have, online classrooms, online teaching. In that situation, how to build that trust in your student? It entirely rests, because maybe I had known my students of the past batch. What about the new batch of students who are joining me now? I do not even know them. I've only seen them on the screen, and I am not familiar even with their names. How do I establish a rapport with them? How do I instill that sense of confidence in him that he can approach me anytime, day or night? That I don't keep, as was rightly pointed out here by the eminent panelists, that if you are having a 10 to 6 or a 9 to 5 approach to teaching, then I don't think that, you are a great teacher. There is this friend of mine who famously keeps saying that there are no bad students. There are only bad teachers. So I think that the entire approach to learning should change. We should look at, examinations not as a method to test the students' acumen, but to test whether we have been able to teach them. If a student fares badly in the examination or a test, or an assignment or a project, I should immediately think that it should be a matter of worry for me, not for him. That how did I fail in, so I should be able to identify such students. It is like a family where you have a child who is weak. So you have to ensure that that child gets the nutritional supplement, and to ensure that he also get the conducive atmosphere growth. That should be my approach to my classroom also. Yes, it is a challenge in the online era, but I'm sure that, we will work out methods. Today, technology has enabled us through a lot of engaging kind of, technology wherein we can engage with them. We can one-to-one interact with them. But most importantly, we have to be accessible to the student. The student should feel, as Professor Prasanna Kumar rightly said, that our humility, that we are available to them for guidance. We are available to them, that they can approach anytime. I feel so good when students who passed out 20 years back and are facing a crisis on their job front pick up the phone. They may be contacting me after 10 years, 15 years, and they call up, sir, I am so-and-so batch. I say, yes, tell me. Sir, I'm in a piquant situation. Please guide me. I feel that if I was able to instill that confidence in him 20 years back, that he feels so confident that in spite of being incommunicado for 20 years, he could straight away pick up the phone and call me and ask. That is the level of confidence I have given to him, that I am available for you. Yes, I may be busy at that time. I can always tell him that, yes, call me at this time. That is possible. But that very fact that, yes, I am there for you anytime in your life, anytime when you need. So it's not just the classroom relationship, the teacher-student relationship is one of constant learning and constant teaching. And for that, as has been rightly pointed out, we have to be on a constant learning curve. We have to be on a constant learning curve. Because if any teacher thinks that he or she is an authority, at the most, I can say that I am an expert to some extent. I have a specialization in a particular field. But if I say that I am an authority, that I know everything, when that attitude comes, I think my growth gets stunted there and then. I stop growing as an individual. I stop growing as a teacher. I think that I should be constantly on the learning curve. And to that extent, the recent, the lockdown, the COVID-19 proved to be a blessing in disguise. So many webinars, so many online courses teachers have been able to do that, it has been really, I have seen teachers who have acquired over a dozen or 24 certificates during this period. I said that, look, it's really a great opportunity. So windows of opportunity opened, even as we thought that everything is going to be gloomy. So I have always been, I say that my blood group is B positive. So I always look at things from a very positive point of view. And I think that, I would only say that, one should be an example. You cannot live a different life beyond the classroom and be a different person in the classroom. Students observe you. They can make out. Today, social media has enabled that you can make out. Sheikh Saab need not go by, any profile sent by me. He just has to do a Google search and he will come to know everything about me. I cannot hide anything about me. And today's students are very smart. They come to the classroom prepared. I have seen in my, just one last example, I have seen in a seminar how, you know, a teacher tried to make a PowerPoint presentation and the students immediately pointed out that this has been lifted from Wikipedia. Recently in Delhi University, there is a huge controversy going on. One of the principals of a leading college has been accused, and it was big news in Indian Express. He plagiarized from my article, and it has been widely reported. So the Delhi University teachers approached me and said that, why don't you condemn it? I said that, why should I come to the fore? Does it require any more condemnation? That, you know, the media itself has said, pointed out and put the two, you know, my article and his article together, you know, and exposed him. Can there be anything more shameful for a teacher? You know, so I said, I don't need to come out and give any statement on this. I think that anybody worth his salt, he would immediately, you know, I don't know what he would do. But the fact is that teachers should set a benchmark, a bar, you know, wherein there should be an inspiration. People should look at it. And if they are seen to be unscrupulous, shady, scheming, then I don't think they will ever have the respect of the students. So that is very important, that you set an example by, yes, you have every right to lead a very dignified life, a decent life, but you can always, through your conduct, you can inspire. You know, you should be a source of inspiration beyond the classroom. For me, that is the definition, and only this can ensure very strong bonds between the teacher and students. On that note, once again, happy Teachers' Day to all the participants. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, please continue. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable speech on this occasion. Before we go to question and answer sessions, and I have one announcement. On August 16th, 2020, recently, we organized a webinar on Indian democracy in retrospect and prospect. In that webinar, the panelists are Professor A. Prasanna and Commodore C. Uday and Dr. Sheetal Sharma. So in this webinar, we announced cash prizes for submitting the reflections on the webinar on particular topic. So we identified the three, we selected three best papers on the set topic. So I want to announce those names on this occasion. Posapati Harshita, she got first prize, and we are going to give her 3,000 rupees. Second prize backed by Sridevi Relangi. She is from Adikavi Nanna University and Rajamandri. She got second prize, and she is going to get the prize money 2,000. And third prize is BL Vasundhara. She's from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Eccherla, Srikakulam. So she bagged third prize, and the cash prize is 1,000. So this is the announcement. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now there are a few questions now. I think one by one we can respond. So I may request Professor Kumar sir to respond the question. The Dr. N.J. Padmakar Babu is from Machilipatnam. He is a former student of Political Science Department, Andhra University. And he says that some say that in the present day education system, there is a total absence of personality development, creation of moral conscience, and ethical training. Is it because of selection of teacher or the flaws in the education system? Sir, would you like to respond on this?
No, I do not know the present situation as such, because I retired 20 years ago.
Sir.
But then I'm glad that there is some recruitment taking place. I was told that there has been no recruitment of teachers for the last 20 years. I'm indeed delighted and relieved that some teachers are being appointed. Anyway, coming to the point.
Sir.
If you think that the teacher is not really generating the interest that is supposed to generate in the classroom or inspire the student.
Sir.
Student should certainly make bold to approach the teacher, suggest to him, and extract from him what you expect him to do. I think Padmakar Babu, you are a very capable student. I know you are a very good student.
Yeah.
You can really help in enabling the student community to show more interest in the academic program for that matter. Therefore, one particular point I wish to mention, Dr. Silaman, in this context.
Sir.
When some teachers came and told me that the students were not attentive at all, they were not showing any interest in the lessons, I said, why don't you innovate? The duty of a teacher is to innovate. And what you do, you lecture for 40 minutes, and the remaining 10 or 15, 20 minutes, you ask at random a couple of students to sum up what you have said. That helps you in getting a feedback. And secondly, that makes the students also very attentive. And you make them participate. Therefore, like inclusive governance, this teaching learning process is a kind of an inclusive business. And therefore, you can motivate. I'm glad that Padmakar Babu, I'm able to hear him, or at least hear about him from my hometown, Machilipattam. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now there is another question from Sheikh Shamina Begum from Hyderabad. What do you think, what is the important factor missing in today's generation teacher? Suresh sir, would you like to respond on this?
Yes. As I told you that, there is no doubt that, I'm not at all, there are very good teachers even today, and that is why there are also good students. But I would also say that the commercialization, privatization, and all that has led to a kind of situation wherein I think that the commercial aspects have taken over. And the teacher has now started working in a 9 to 5 kind of a mold. This I don't think is really conducive for student-teacher learning. Yes, teacher has a private life, has a personal life. I'm not saying anybody can anytime just walk in or call up and all that. But the teacher should have time in his office hours or college hours or a particular day wherein the student should be able to walk into him and talk to him everything under the sun, not just in the class. I mean, he may be having problems at home. He may be looking for guidance, mentorship. He may be looking for suggestions. What does he want to? He's in a personal problem he is facing, confronting. He is seeking advice. I think that you should not hesitate to do that, not limit it to a very kind of a strict classroom kind of a situation where my relationship with you is only up to the classroom, your assignment, your project. Beyond that, there is no relationship. Then don't expect that the students will also reciprocate like that only. So I think that has been part of our Guru Shishya Parampara, wherein, the teacher is a beacon throughout. And I believe that commitment to the student, that is important. That commitment should be there. That is particularly among the new breed of teachers, who are more, I would say, kind of, I won't use the word selfish or something like that, but they are more self-centered. A self-centric approach is there that for me it is another work. I don't think a teacher's job is just another work, just another job. I think it comes with a lot of social commitments that has to be kept in mind. And last but not the least, I believe that teachers should not be status quoists. If you are status quoists, you should be catalysts for change. You should be able to provoke thoughts. And if you are just a status quoists, I don't think that you will be able to challenge the students. You should encourage them to be change makers. That is very important.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sir, Uday Balakrishnan, sir, would you like to give any summary views on this before we sign off?
Yeah, I'll just be very, very brief. I'll just take off because I was listening to Dr. Suresh with keen interest, and I think he made some extremely valid points. As a teacher has to be inspiring enough to outlast the classroom where he has taught. You know, when the student goes out, he should still feel that's a wonderful teacher who has taught me. That's how I have been inspired by many teachers. Now, the one point I want to make is that the teacher as a facilitator is more important than a teacher as a teacher. He has to facilitate learning. He has to enable students to access learning which is beyond himself to give. And I think there is a big area of learning for in teacher education for that to be introduced. Because whenever I used to be in charge of the national child labor program in the country, and we set up a number of schools, and we found that some of the NGOs were highly inspired to teach to learn, you know, rather than just to teach to impart knowledge. I think India, to become a creative society, has to do that rather than just. I will stop there. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you. Sir, in fact, I am very happy to introduce the kith and kin of Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Here with us, Sarvepalli Srinivas with us. I think you are able to see his view. Sir, Srinivas sir, you can have a word about your association with Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and very, very interesting and good topic in view of the new education policy and the turmoil we are having post-COVID, post-COVID, all those things. I can only draw from the knowledge and experience which my father shared, because as being the nephew of Dr. Radhakrishnan, he used to meet him very frequently when he was in various posts, right from Vice Chancellor of Andhra University to up to Vice President and President. A couple of things which come to my mind is, while the role of teachers and mentors has transformed, at the same time, the transformation and expectation from students has really grown, and that while traditional thoughts and teachings and philosophies are breaking various barriers, I can only say that ultimately whatever the teacher teaches, it is multifunctional. It is not only about the subject, it's teaching about the culture, it is developing a person's personality. And now with international faculty also coming on in various universities, cross-cultural skills. So we are well equipped to demonstrate our knowledge and experience. And many countries, as the esteemed faculty will know, in many of the countries in Africa, the most honored people are the Indian teachers. And why is that? Because we bring the Guru Shishya Parampara. Whatever name you call it today, whether it is mentor, mentee, bringing in knowledge, sharing knowledge, but the experience and understanding what the market needs. These are things which I'm sure that today's students are picking up very well. I myself have two children. Both of them are, one is in post-graduation, one is in graduation. I have seen their evolvement from the time they have moved from school to their courses. And today, the education field also enables all the students to pick up new courses and new thoughts. It's very timely, and I only wish we had more time to discuss all this, but nevertheless, on Teachers' Day, my humble pranams to all my teachers.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you very much. Sir, Professor Prasanna, sir.
Yes, one last word. I'm sorry, one last word.
Yeah, no. We have a time, sir. You can.
No, you see, very often I recall the famous words of G.T. Krishnamurti, the great philosopher. When he was addressing American students, he once raised three questions, very important questions. Why are you studying? What are you studying? How are you studying? I paraphrase them and ask teachers whenever I'm asked to talk to colleagues in the profession, any refresher course I'm invited to. I say, why are you teaching? What are you teaching? And how are you teaching? These three questions that the great Krishnamurti raised have a message. That message is every teacher must be proud of his profession, whether a school teacher, college teacher, or university teacher. No matter the salary he gets, no matter the place he's working in, no matter the reputation of the institution, perhaps it's not very high, but still, when once you have that professional pride that I'm teaching, I'm a teacher, I think that first of all must be cultivated by all those who join the teaching profession. You feel proud of what you're doing, and you will certainly realize that ultimately there is nothing higher than teaching, because all teaching is learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So I think, so any, before we sign off, anything from Suresh sir or Sarvepalli Srinivas sir?
I think it was a wonderful session, lot of experience, and I think that it's time for action now.
Yeah,
And I think that we should be looking. We have a visionary education policy now, and we can look at radical changes in the entire education, the flexibility it offers. You know, in terms of there is a constant lifelong learning process. In our university also, we have introduced the school of life concept, wherein we are going to teach them basic life skills like good communication skills. I mean, sometimes you find that we produce the best of engineers and computer science specialists, but they cannot write a proper letter, you know. So I think that it is important that these skills are also taught. And there is a lot of emphasis on this in the education policy also. And I think that these life skills, communication skills, analytical skills, data skills, I think they are all very important for every student. And we should also be focusing on these things. I'm sure education is going to be an exciting journey in the days ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Before I sign off, I thank my guru, the octogenarian academician, Professor Prasanna Kumar garu, for spending with us. Sir, thank you very much for spending time for me in this webinar. Definitely, we take forward your, valuable, these kind of suggestions and valuable ideas. The present generation may be missing. But what can I do is that I can disseminate this information to n number of students as well as the faculty through my channels. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I think Uday Balakrishnan, sir, thank you very much for spending time with a short span of time. And also I have given Spartan sign to KG Suresh also. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I think in future, we may organize some more seminars on different, issues. In fact, the Meera Aziz Educational Society I started 2 years back. My wife is the president. So the main focus is on, how we can, help the, especially the minorities, the girls and boys, as well as not only minorities, others also, especially the young generation. In fact, in Telugu also, since we want to promote in Telangana and Andhra states initially, but later we can take it to the other parts of the country also. So this is main focus, how we can, help the underprivileged sections of the society, especially in education. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, my Guru, Kumar sir, Uday Balakrishnan sir, and Suresh sir. Finally, we are happy. In fact, we are today in a birthday of Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. We have a kith and kin of his father. Srinivas sir father is very close to Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan sir. Their relatives also. In fact, our Sarvepalli Srinivas sir, he was CMD of Textile Corporation of India earlier. Now he is doing some consultancy on different projects. Thank you, sir. Srinivas sir. Thank you one and all. Thank you. So I end this session.